The Sherman family's terrifying encounter. In Part A, the story begins with the Sherman family, who endured a string of bizarre and terrifying incidents on their ranch. Traumatized, they eventually sold the property to billionaire Robert Bigelow. Bigelow was a devoted UFO enthusiast who openly declared his firm belief in the existence of extraterrestrial life. In 1995, he founded the National Institute for Discovery Science, NIDS, an organization dedicated to researching paranormal phenomena and UFOs. Of all his projects, the most renowned was the acquisition of the infamous Skinwalker Ranch in 1996. By August of that year, a research team led by biochemist Dr. Cole McKellar moved onto the ranch. The team, composed of top-tier scientists, embarked on what would become a legendary investigation. To maintain a sense of normalcy and perhaps lure UFOs, cattle were still raised on the property. The former owner, Terry Sherman, was even invited back to manage the ranch. Everything appeared unchanged, except for the fact that cameras had been set up all over the ranch to record activity 24/7. And the scientists brought in an array of advanced instruments and tools for their watch. What lies within the mountain? While waiting for extraterrestrial activity, a neighbor named Mrs. Gonzalez recounted an unusual sighting. She claimed that a silver flying object once crashed into a nearby mountain. Expecting a fiery explosion, she was stunned to see the craft glide smoothly into the mountain, as if swallowed by it, without making a sound. In November, the research team witnessed a similar phenomenon. A bright yellow light appeared over the mountain ridge, emanating from a high-speed flying object, faster than a jet, but eerily silent. The object circled overhead and then vanished into the mountain. Was this an alien welcome party? Soon after, the strange mutilation of cattle began again. In under 40 minutes, a calf was surgically dissected with scalpel-like precision. No blood on the body or the grass, and a yellow tag hung from its ear, clearly placed by someone. Yet, there were no footprints, no tire marks. The mother cow stood tense, ready to attack, while the ranch's 3 dogs trembled in their kennels, refusing to come out all day. It was clear something else was there on the ranch. Something unseen. The invisible creature. Days later, something even more baffling occurred. A cow grazing near the ranch's edge suddenly backed away in panic, as if dodging an invisible force. Then, just like the Red Sea parting for Moses, the herd split in two, some bolting west, others east. It was as if an unseen presence moved through the herd. Terry, who was observing the event, noticed his compass needle spinning wildly. Whatever invisible entity had frightened the cows emitted a powerful magnetic field. The compass indicated that the creature moved southward before vanishing 11 minutes later. 2 days after that, Dr. Kelleher was alone in the southern woods, conducting measurements, when a strong musky odor overwhelmed him, nearly making him faint. At the same moment, a chill crept up his spine, and his neck hairs stood on end. He could feel something watching him. Could it be the same invisible being that startled the cattle? He turned cautiously, heart pounding, but no matter how hard he looked, he saw nothing. He wondered if he was imagining it. Later, another team member confirmed he had also felt watched and smelled the musky scent. That's when Kelleher realized something was out there. But what exactly? The team decided to deploy infrared night vision scopes. That's when the mystery started to unravel. That night, as 2 members set up their scopes and cameras, a massive black object appeared in the viewfinder, floating above the treetops, around 60 meters away, moving northward. Strangely, the cameraman beside the scope operator couldn't see it at all. The team realized that the object was only visible in the infrared spectrum, invisible to the naked eye. The limits of human vision. Humans see objects because surfaces reflect visible light into our eyes. But visible light represents only a tiny portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. If an object reflects light outside of this range, or doesn't reflect light at all, it becomes invisible to us. Modern stealth aircraft operate on this principle. Designed with smooth surfaces and coated with special materials that absorb radar waves. This reduces radar reflection, making the aircraft invisible. But even stealth tech can be detected using infrared sensors. Because high-speed flight generates heat, and heat emits infrared radiation. This shows how limited human vision truly is. There are countless things we can't see. For instance, in summer, we wear sunscreen and sun-protective clothing to block ultraviolet rays. Even though UV light is invisible, yet no one doubts its existence. Studies suggest that while humans can't see ultraviolet light, animals like cats and dogs can. Pet owners may notice their dogs barking at seemingly empty corners. It's likely they're seeing what we cannot. The same goes for the cattle on Skinwalker Ranch. Their panic may have been caused by entities existing outside our visible spectrum. The black object seen in the infrared scope was one such entity. A tunnel in the sky. A few days later, 2 team members watching from a cliff spotted something even more incredible through their infrared scope. A yellow light emerged from the ground and widened, forming a tunnel in midair. Then, a large humanoid figure crawled out of it. The creature was over 6 feet tall and weighed an estimated 400 pounds. Once it reached the ground, the glowing tunnel vanished, and the humanoid being began climbing the cliff, before disappearing altogether. The next day, they returned to the spot and found no tracks, only a strong, lingering smell of sulfur. A telltale sign that something extraordinary had taken place. Could this have been the legendary Bigfoot? The myth of Bigfoot. Curiously, Native American legends speak of a close connection between humans and mystical tunnels. The Hopi people believe this is the 4th world their tribe has inhabited, having entered it from the 3rd world via a tunnel. The Navajo also say their ancestors escaped a previous world's evil forces by passing through a tunnel into this one. Bigfoot often features in these stories as a mysterious guardian or messenger. Described as a 2-meter tall, hairy giant, Bigfoot is believed by the Hopi to carry messages from the Creator. Alaskan natives call him their big brother, a protector who warns of coming disasters. And it's not just North America. Stories of large, hairy humanoids span the globe. Europe's wild men of the woods, the Himalayan Yeti, China's Shenandoah wild man, and Australia's Yowies all echo the Bigfoot myth. Over the past 300 years, reports of Bigfoot have surged. In the 1920s, J.W. Burns, a teacher in Vancouver, shared stories of native encounters with a race of hairy giants. In 2005, Dr. Kelleher and investigative journalist George Knapp co-authored Hunt for the Skinwalker, detailing the ranch's mysteries. Some theorize that Bigfoot may originate from another dimension, explaining the lack of physical evidence. Psychics in other dimensions? Seeking answers, the research team brought in several psychics to remote view the ranch. None knew anything about the location beforehand. 1. A former government employee considered one of the world's top remote viewers, sketched an accurate map of the ranch and identified a deeply unsettling energy in its southwest corner. Another, a retired CIA officer, described a robotic drone conducting the cattle mutilations, one capable of interdimensional travel. A third said the ranch house was the center of a vortex of strange energies. Lastly, the final group brought in by the team was a crew of remote viewers led by the psychic Angela Thompson. Without knowing anything about the ranch beforehand, they each recorded the visions they received through their abilities. 3 of them independently described a subterranean structure resembling a beehive, an intricate electronic network filled with sophisticated technology. Another remote viewer sensed the presence of a humanoid being with an unusually long neck and an oversized head, speaking in what sounded like a foreign, possibly extraterrestrial language. What makes this even more fascinating is that the Sherman family often reported hearing strange mechanical noises, like heavy machinery or metallic equipment, coming from underground. The previous owner had even warned them not to dig randomly on the property. During winter, the pond on the ranch would sometimes display enormous ice circles. Large, perfect rings etched into the thin surface ice. There were no footprints, no vehicle tracks, nothing to indicate how they appeared. A local psychic once claimed that these ice circles were the result of underground technology, eerily consistent with what Thompson's team had perceived. So, could there really be an alien base hidden beneath the ranch? Was that the reason behind the relentless efforts to drive the Sherman family away? The NIDS team didn't dare dig deeper. But soon after the publication of their findings, the U.S. Department of Defense took notice. In 2007, they even allocated $22 million to fund a deeper investigation of the ranch. However, the results of that investigation were never made public. Yet, the story of the ranch doesn't end there. In fact, it was just beginning. In 2016, after the NIDS investigation concluded, another billionaire, Brandon Fugel, purchased the ranch, sparing no expense. He assembled his own team and partnered with media outlets to launch a series of investigations, this time digging quite literally, and turned it all into a reality TV show. So what did they uncover? Did the aliens finally show up to stop them?
Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Share it, because some stories are meant to be discovered together. And stay curious. I'll see you in the next chapter.